Scrappy peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you another technique in my collaborative series with Christine, and I am showing you how to use stencils with your Distress Oxide inks to create elements for your scrapbook pages or cards or any paper crafting that you do. So these are the stencils that I have here. They are leaves, and you can see they're the fall leaves that I created. So I used 4 inks. It was Fired Brick, Vintage Photo, Spiced Marmalade, and I forget what that yellow color is, but I'll list the 4 colors in the box down below. And so I just dabbed my Distress Oxide ink pad on the top of each stencil. I used various colors, and then I spritzed that with water, picked up the stencil, and then just gently pushed the stencil down into the paper. You don't want too much water or you're going to lose the clear definition of the stencil, and you don't want to push too hard either, or you'll push the ink out from the stencil and again lose that clear definition. So again, I'm just going to go through this multiple times to create a bunch of leaves like you can see off to the right hand side there. And I just used a mix of colors. I do recommend you use your lightest color first. It didn't muddy up the ink pads too much, but it's easy to stamp that off. You could even make a background with the stamp off if you wanted to. And you can see how I picked up color from my mat when I needed a little bit of extra color. I did lose the bottom of my leaves because I was holding on to the bottom of the leaf. You can see how that one didn't work so well, and that was fine because I knew it was a bit of an experiment when I picked up color to see how much color was left on there. And what I was saying earlier, I'm sorry, I cut myself off, is that I was holding on to the bottom of the stencil, and I didn't push the stencil all the way down at the bottom, and so I was losing the stem of the leaves, which is fine. It would have been nicer to have the full leaf, but it didn't work that way, and that's okay. It happens, and I've learned for next time. There we go. So some of them I used all 4 ink pads, and some of them I used 2 of the ink pads. I did get much bigger, wider color variety of these particular little leaves. You can see in those bigger leaves, a good chunk of those leaves are predominantly yellow. And you can see I ran my nail just through the center of the stencil to push the liquid to the edge of the stencil, but not beyond it. I was really pleased with the way that these came out. I will then at the end of the video just literally fussy cut around the outer border of each leaf. You could leave these as they are and create a fun fall background and use the misting technique that both Christine and I have showed you, where you just flick your mists in order to get splatters, or even the distress stain splatter technique. You could make a fun fall collage with these techniques as a whole background if you wanted. Christine's packaging techniques that she used yesterday, those you could do first and then use these stencils on top. Many of these techniques you can mix and match all of them and get some really fun effects to them. So tomorrow I'm going to be back and show you a layout that I created using these leaves. I'm going to just fussy cut them and use a few of them on a fall-based layout. Now, a lot of what I've shown you over the past 2 weeks is very fall-based and themed. That's not to say that you couldn't do other themes as well. It just so happens that here in the US we are entering into fall. First day of fall today, woohoo! And so that's kind of what's been on my mind. But I think these would be great. You could do blue. You could even add a little shimmer to this and get some really cool snowflakes. For the other part of the world who, I guess you must be entering into spring, you could do flowers with a very similar technique to this. So I hope you enjoyed this process. This video is mostly me just stamping up a bunch of leaves. So I used some extra color here and just used my water brush to pick up the Distress Oxide and literally flick it over the leaves for a little added texture and to add that organic look to it. So you can see both leaves. These are both both of these leaves were in the packet of stencils that I used, and I just fussy cut them all out and created embellishments for my layout. So be sure to come back tomorrow and see the process video for how I use these leaves on a layout. Be sure to check out Christine's videos, and I'm going to show you a few close-ups of these leaves in more detail, and then a close-up of these leaves on the layout that I will create tomorrow. I hope you've been learning some fun techniques and are inspired to use these mixed media techniques on your projects. Thanks for stopping in. Take care.